Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Faerie Conclave. This is episode 96. I'm your host, Alec. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm super excited to be doing another Commander Deck interview with an extra special guest. It's Brujaja. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, this is pretty much the only thing I've got going on today, and I've really been looking forward to it. So yeah, I'm excited to have you on to talk about one of your Commander decks.
Hell yeah, it's my first interview. I'm very excited.
Okay, I'm honored to be your first interviewer.
Thank you for being my first.
Anytime.
Sorry.
Anytime.
Sorry.
I love it.
I promise I'm platonically sexually harassing you. I'm arrow ace. I couldn't even mean it if I tried.
Oh yes. No, it's okay. I appreciate it and welcome it, honestly.
Okay, just let me know if I make it too weird.
Okay,
I'll
for
stop.
sure. Sounds good. Okay, yeah, and so to introduce you a little bit. So I know you for your Magic content, which involves a lot of Twitch streams, and also just kind of like a general, very positive presence on social media and Discord and places like that, which I really love to see.
I'm honestly always surprised when people tell me I'm a positive influence. I'm like, my personality is likened to a Brillo pad. I'm like, I would throat punch someone for making a transphobic joke during a tournament. Like, how? All right.
Well, that's exactly it. For me, that's a positive thing that is good to have around. So we appreciate that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I'm sure you do lots of other stuff too. So I'll pass it over to you to kind of introduce yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm Brujaja. My name is B, if you want to call me by my human name. Yeah, I'm a East Coast creator. I focus my content in mostly Commander or Historic Brawl on Arena, but I also really enjoy playing Standard just because it's always like a shit show on Arena. I also do a lot of D&D content. I stream it once a week, and I have 2 different campaigns that I bounce back and forth between. And starting at the end of the year, I'm going to be doing monthly one-shots, so I can invite different creators on to have just like a silly, fun time with. Most recently, we did one called Bardo's Wonderland, and it was based on the Barbie movie.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty fun.
That's incredible. Yeah, and
it was very fun.
I meant to shout out your D&D streams as well, because I was watching one last Wednesday, right? Is
Thursday, but yeah.
Thursdays. Okay. Yeah, I was watching after work, and I have just like I've been excited about Baldur's Gate, and so I've been watching D&D, and yeah, yours was really fun. I really like the
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really like the vibes and the kind of, I don't know, the stream layout. Like, it was all very easy to watch, and yeah.
Oh,
and
good.
I watched for a couple hours. It was really cool.
I worked very hard at that stream layout. I'm very self-conscious about it. I'm a little bit low-key obsessed with like UX. So it bothers me when I can't get exactly what I want on screen. So I'm happy to hear that. But yeah, a lot of the cast members that I've been friends with for a very long time, as far back as 15 years. And that has made it incredibly easy for the vibes and for new people coming in to get comfortable because we're already so just like chill and familiar. It's nice.
Yeah, it definitely shows. It comes across. I could for sure see that. Yeah, those were like longtime friends.
Yeah, but my attitude about it is like I wrote the story mode, but you're in charge of the gameplay.
I like
kind
that.
Of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, especially because I feel like you can never predict what the players are gonna do. So it's you can't dude, you can't force too much, you know?
Oh yeah. Like I threw a swarm of rats at Mr. Doggo Dude, a fellow creator, and he rolled so well, he convinced the rats not to attack them. I don't even know what happened. It was so funny. But yeah, sorry, I digress. Outside of Magic, I am also a boudoir model and burlesque dancer here in Philly. So my next show is the 27th, but they actually haven't named the venue nor the name of the show yet. And then I'm going to have one in November. That'll be spooky. So I think that's it. Oh, and I recently put up my YouTube and my Patreon where I will be releasing gameplay videos from a monthly series I have called The Salt Factory, where all of the players played the same commander, and I only picked commanders that give me legitimate anxiety to play against. The salt is usually mine.
I love it.
Actually, so we've done like Tergrid, Yuriko, Franco Mob Boss. The one I'm editing right now is Adeline Resplendent Cather. We just did Marwyn for a freaking elf ball. Yeah. Shatterfang is this month.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I was about to ask which commanders have caused some salt lately, and that's definitely a pretty good list.
I'm legitimately not looking forward to it because it's going to be a nightmare. It's legitimately going to be a nightmare. It's just going to be terrible. So, and it was so popular, I had to schedule 2 pods this month. So we'll see what happens.
I love that. Yeah, that's exciting. Okay. Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah.
For stuff like that, it's so fun to watch other people play in games with like really like rude and salty commanders.
Yeah.
It's so
like,
entertaining.
It's the closest to CEDH that I'm getting right now because the goal is to win with these batshit crazy commanders. We just all have to do it to each other. Gives it a weird little restriction that I enjoy. Yeah. Shatterfang deck will be Friday the 18th and then again on the 25th. They're usually the last Friday of every month, but it filled up immediately. It filled up within 30 minutes of me posting the schedule. So nice. I had another pod. So
I love that. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, and then next month is 2 Gishath pods because the same thing happened. Lord help me. I promise that's all I have going on. I'll shut up now.
No, we love it. Yeah, I'm glad you have a ton of stuff going on. Going back to the modeling thing that you were talking about, have you also been involved with Suicide Girls? Did I see that?
I am a suicide girl, actually.
I love that.
After like 13 years of wanting to be a suicide girl, I finally let myself submit a set. And within about a little bit over a year, I became a suicide girl. I haven't sold a set since, and I don't want to be a one set wonder. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Anyone out there, go check it out for sure.
But yeah, no, after 13 years, I became a suicide girl at 33. And let's just say when I got the email, I screamed so loudly, my roommate thought my cat died.
I believe it, though. That's amazing. Yeah.
It was, I never thought it would happen. Like, it started out as wanting to be a suicide girl, but the community was so welcoming and supportive that I'm like, bro, I just want to put my titties here all the time. Holy shit. It was like...
I believe that. So, yeah. And they've been around for for a long time too. So I bet it's
they started in like 2005 or 4, I think 2004.
I love it. So yeah, what's that been like for you since you got accepted in?
It was really cool because like you submit a bunch of sets, but they don't buy almost any of them. It's rare that you get bought. And then if you do get bought, your set is on the front page for 24 hours of Suicide Girls. And it's great. And a cool thing about it is you can get tips on your set.
Oh, okay.
So they have these like nice little ways for you to be able to monetize just showing up. So you could get tips on your set before you get something purchased, or if you never get something purchased, there's streams that people will tip on. People just tip your page. It's pretty fun. Cool
I like
place.
That. Yeah,
very supportive little community.
Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, lots of little ways for people to like contribute to it.
And like absolutely nobody gasses you up more than hotties on the internet in a community of other hotties.
That is so true.
Yeah. It's great.
I love it. Okay, I think if it's all right with you, I think it's time we start talking about one of your commander decks, which...
Hell yeah,
I'm super excited for it. So really quick before we get into it, I will shout out one patron on my Patreon at the Conclave Mentor level. I shout out a random one each episode, and I only have 3 right now, so like your chances of getting shouted out are so high. If you want to go check it out. But anyway, so HB, thank you so much for being a patron. I really appreciate it. So this is a commander that I am just like obsessed with for the vibes alone. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about
Yes.
this one.
Okay. Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
yes. So, yeah, my first question for you is who is the commander we're going to be talking about today, and what inspired you to build this deck in the first place?
So my commander is Gyome Master Chef, and a friend of mine bought me the pre-con. For context, I'm obsessed with Golgari. That is just my jam. Recursion is... I'm obsessed with it to the point where I find a reason to put it in every color at this point. But absolutely, it sounded great. And before I got the pre-con, I was playing standard on arena, and the food mechanic was in standard. And I built the stupidest little food deck that barely won, but it was so fun to play. And then I started tweaking it, and it became absolutely insane and won entirely too much. So when my friend bought me a food pre-con, I lost my mind. So I immediately went in and started tearing things out and switching things out and making it more and more powerful. And part of the reason was I appreciated food as a niche mechanic, because when you paired it with itself, it did some very silly things. And then if you branched out to anything that could have possibly benefited from the effect, it's insane. It becomes an avalanche of nonsense. And then a proxy artist sent me a proxy of Gyome as Gordon Ramsay, who I am obsessed with. So the deck is called Hell's Kitchen.
Okay, I love that. You'll have to send me a picture of that.
Yeah. And if I win, I tell everybody they're an idiot sandwich. Unless they're not okay with it. As long as they're okay with the joke.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty much it. It was a niche mechanic that I felt was silly, and I legitimately enjoyed the experience of using. So, being able to build a creature deck that's secretly an artifact deck was really fun.
Yeah, that's the thing about food tokens that I think is really cool, or one of the things is it just compared to like treasure or clues, it's like less exciting to gain life.
Right.
But that isn't even really what you're using it for most of the time. Like it gives you a bunch of tokens, it gives you a bunch of artifacts. It's got like
you can sack artifacts. So Dockside Chef with a ton of food tokens has been great and hilariously thematic.
Oh, that's so good.
So good.
Just
so
sacrifice them to draw cards.
Yep.
Oh,
and then when you sack, other things pop off. It's such a great time.
So good. Yeah, I played a lot of the Lord of the Rings commander decks recently. And the Hobbit one is just like
I just got that.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah.
I'm excited. Although I have one complaint.
What is it?
They gave Frodo the fancy hard cardboard card that you like put in your command zone, but they didn't give one for Sam.
Okay, I had the same thoughts.
Frodo was the NPC, okay, and the worst one. Samwise Gamgee is the main character of Lord of the Rings, the movies, and I will die on that hill. You give Sam the damn respect he deserves. Damn it.
I am 100% there with you. Like. Yeah, especially since they're partner commanders, why doesn't it just have both?
Right, that seems rude. Now, do they do that with all partner commander precons? How many partner commander precons even are there?
We'll have to look into this.
I don't know these things. Now I need to go Google. Damn it. Found a rabbit hole.
Yes.
Bye.
It's true though. Yeah, and the thing about that deck is so Sam's ability makes it so your food costs one less to like sacrifice to get the life gain. And I've just found out that makes food like almost overpowered to have it cost one less. It's like that line, you cross the line of being like kind of a silly little thing to being like actually very scary when it's one less.
I was a little low-key sad when food became such a big mechanic in Lord of the Rings, because I'm like, oh, my thing's not niche and funny now.
I can understand that. Yeah.
That was it. Like, I was very excited to get new cards. I was also really concerned that I was going to get priced out, because there are channels that are super officially associated with WotC, not like an ambassador channel, but like an official sponsor channel that you can't use proxies on, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I already had stuff I was worried about, like fucking doubling season. So I was a little worried about that. But thankfully, the things that have come out that have been super, super viable in my deck have been affordable, or I've had the grace of pulling it.
Nice. Yeah, that always helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at least the Lord of the Rings stuff was so popular that there's just a lot of it. So hopefully it's like not too expensive to get those. Yeah, I love it. I guess we should go through. Will you read off what Gyome actually, what the abilities are?
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, let me pull them up now because I don't want to say the wrong fucking thing. Even though this is my most popular deck, and I think it's the one I am best known for people who know me. Secondarily would be zombies.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so Gyome is a 4-drop commander, one black, one green. He's got trample. He's a 5/3 with trample. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of food tokens equal to the number of non-token creatures you had entered the battlefield under your control this turn.
Ooh.
And for 1, you sack a food and target creature gains indestructible till end of turn, and you tap it. The token creation triggers from Gyome himself. So if he enters the battlefield, you get a token for it.
So you always get at least one.
You always get at least
turn.
one token for every single creature.
But then, like you said, you have doubling season in here, parallel lives. You're making like you have tons of creatures and tokens coming in.
I've had people ask to play this deck just because how fun it can be once it gets rolling. Now, to keep it as casual as, viably possible, it doesn't get spooky until turn 8.
Makes sense.
But I'm starting to add some sideboard stuff to speed it up a lot because people always step up decks at my LGS, so I gotta keep up somehow.
Yeah, definitely gotta kind of match the play groups you're in. Yeah, I just love the vibes of this so much. It's like a creature entered the battlefield, like somebody walked into the restaurant and they have to have a meal, like they need some food. So each creature gets some
people.
food. Yeah.
This is Hell's Kitchen. And I even joke that the legendaries that come out are the VIPs that are coming into the restaurant.
The critics.
Yeah, you always had the VIPs on Hell's Kitchen. Come in, you got to feed them with their own special table. It's great.
That's so good. And then they eat the food and get indestructible from it. But they're also tired, so they get tapped. It's just perfect. It makes so much sense. I love it.
Yeah, what my favorite thing to do, and one of my strategies with it is I will, at the beginning of everybody's freaking turn, I leave as much mana open as possible because you do not tap Gyome to use the sack ability, and I just tap everybody's biggest creatures or commanders.
Oh, I hadn't really thought about that. You can just target your opponent's creatures.
Mana dorks.
Ooh.
I tap mana dorks and commanders, so they can't attack at all.
I love that. Yeah, for some reason I hadn't even thought about using this on your opponents.
It's a little diabolical.
Yeah.
It almost feels like poisoning your opponent with your food.
Giving them some dubious food instead of...
Right? They're getting food poisoning.
That's so good. And I bet you could probably use it to make some deals too. Like, I'll save your creature from dying if you do something for me later.
Yep. It's a good politic piece because it gets to a point where there is endless food.
So what is it about this deck that makes you want to keep coming back to play it again over and over?
So part of the reason I love this deck is I kind of have the attitude with Magic of if you're gonna kick my ass, do it hilariously. The first time I got a walking ballista to the face, I could not stop laughing. I could not stop laughing. So for me, building a deck is not always so much about winning. It's about getting as close to winning as I can with the silliest mechanics possible. And this was definitely meant to be a jank deck, not my pet deck. So for me, if I have Fae Offering and Academy of Manufacturer and Parallel Lives all on the board at the same time, and I have one creature enter, it is the silliest thing on earth. It really is. But I do have a combat damage win con in there. with Mazarek Krull Death Priest.
Ooh.
And for those who don't know, whenever a player sacrifices any permanent, all of my creatures get a +1/+1.
Incredible.
I also have Iridescent Hornbeetle in there, where at the end of your end step, or on your end step, for each 1/1 counter you put on a creature, you make an insect token. So if I have all of those things set up on the board, I've made over 100 tokens in one turn.
Yeah, that just pops off because then you're making insects and they all get food.
Yeah. It might as well be infinite at that point with the amount of tokens I have on the board. It is dumb. And it's just silly crap like that. Like, if I can pull it off, it's so silly. And it gets spooky for other people, but they're laughing also because it is the silliest mechanic that could have gotten scary.
It's true. It's like, why are we so scared of literally just like food on the table? It's so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
I have a food chain in there and people auto blow it up and I'm like, bro, that's there for flavor. You need to be worried about my dockside chef. That shit has won me more games than food chain has ever come close to.
Incredible. Yeah, I love decks that can take... That's kind of what Commander's all about. At least for me, I really enjoy when a deck can take cards that are just so obscure and like make no sense and make them really, really good. Like Dockside Chef. So good.
My favorite card in there is Hot Soup.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you would bring this up at some point.
Hot Soup. I have posted about this card so many times though. Like, that is one of my pet cards, but I don't get to put it in many decks because it's not the best for a lot of decks. But like, it's in my Michonne deck because of her abilities, and it's like a third Voltron at that point with equipment. But in Gyome, it's just so funny. It's just so funny.
Like, it makes perfect sense. And
like, go ahead, kill him. The amount of crap I have on this board right now, I could just tap him and give him indestructible. You can't stop the rhythm.
Ooh. So do you ever win by commander damage through Hot Soup?
I do.
Yeah, I bet that wouldn't be too hard.
It is so gross. It will, like, if depending on how many 1/1 counters on it, I can one-shot commander damage everybody at the table. And that's also one of the goals. Of the 1/1 counters, that's the goal with Gyome. I want to brutally beat you in the face.
While holding a giant pot of soup.
Yep. And I don't have a lot of big boys in there. Like, people assume because I got the food chain, I'm about to pull out huge, thick boys, as you do in green. Nope.
Yep.
Nope, I let them grow.
Yeah, and Hot Soup, I guess we should say, this is also a card that I've just loved. It's from Core Set 2015, which is, even back then when I saw it, I thought it was hilarious.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. Yeah, it's 1 mana for an
flavor
equipment.
Text.
Yes.
The flavor text coming through.
Coming through. You literally equip this, like, cauldron of hot soup. The equipped creature can't be blocked because it's terrifying. But if it gets dealt damage, it gets destroyed. Like, you spill the hot soup on yourself.
Yeah. It's such a fun little flavorful card. No pun intended. I love it. I appreciate the creation of its existence,
Yes. Yeah, and I bet it's incredible in this deck because Gyome makes it so you can make your creature indestructible. So, like, that downside never really even happens.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So what is this deck's history since you started kind of from a pre-con? Are there any kind of like notable changes you've made along the way that you want to talk about?
Oh, so many. So I would say the weak point of my deck is how heavy I leaned into the theme, which was another way for me to try to keep it casual EDH level. Not all the food or food themed cards are that great. So I allowed myself the wiggle room of removing a lot from the pre-con and adding in things that had food or eating words in their name.
I love it. Full
Hunger
flavor.
Dominus. World Eater. Gorger, things like that. So now I have, a freaking Hydra in there and a Phyrexian, and that's very useful. Those weren't there before. I put in things like Food Chain, Doubling Season, Parallel Lives. These kinds of things weren't in there. I don't think Fae Offering was in there. Academy Manufacturer was not in there. It was almost like they made the pre-con to be as chill as possible. So you could sit at a table and be there for 2-3 hours hanging out with friends. And I love that about that. But I'm also impatient. So I want to play faster games, but I want to play a bunch of them. So I pretty much tweaked the deck to make it much quicker, but still be in a very casual play style. And fun enough that if it does kick off and it does really beat people into the ground, it's very funny and it's very lighthearted.
I feel like it's perfect because you get flavor, but then you also can play cards like Galta Primal Hunger. And just
he's in there. He is in there.
So good. Which is like hilarious and also terrifying to play against.
Yes. And it's rare that I use the food chain for big creatures. It's mostly because I have a curse where I get 1 mana screwed before I could put out my commander every single time. And then I'll keep drawing the color I don't need to put out my commander.
I mean, yeah, it's good to have cards to help get your commander out and get the colors you need. And food chain does do that.
Yup.
Okay, that's so much fun. So we've talked a little bit about this already, but when it comes to like the goals of this deck when you're playing it, is there anything else you'd like to talk about there?
I do have what I call my kill switch in there. If I can't win by commander damage or combat damage, I move to finding my infinite life drain combo with Dinah Soul Steeper and Exquisite Blood, because vampires need to eat too.
So true.
So if the game's been going like too long and I have to pee and I have to eat, I'm tutoring for Dinah and we're done.
Yep. I mean, yeah, I think every deck should have just a way to like you said, kill switch the game.
Yeah. You don't have to play it. You don't have to play it. You can pilot it so the game lasts longer. I've absolutely pulled the combo in my opening hand and mulliganed because that's not how I wanted to play. But yeah, no, if it's over 90 minutes, chances are I'm hungry.
Yep. Very relatable.
And I'm going to go to the pizza place next door because every LGS seems to have a pizza place or in Chinese food next door.
That is exactly accurate. And especially after you've been playing a deck about food for 90 minutes.
Oh, yeah. No, it's impossible. I have to eat.
It's true. Yeah, I think that's so much fun. I also so Mazarek is like one of the ways you can win by pure combat damage.
Yeah, he is the key to the combat damage. There's not a ton of stuff that gives 1/1 counters in there. It's more focused on doubling token ability. So like Vorinclex is in there, but he really needs to be used alongside of Mazarek, which again is another way I was kind of able to keep the power level a reasonable enough pace to be able to play pretty much anyone, and then sideboard stuff to help me ramp to get up there quicker. But yeah, without Mazarek, it's a little harder to get the combat damage win con, but it is not hard to get the life drain combo kill switch if need be. But he's absolutely, if I wanted that deck to be more powerful, he's the alternate commander.
Oh yeah,
100%.
My first commander deck pre-con that I ever got was the Marin deck, and Mazarek was like the alternate commander in that deck. And I remember one of the first things I did was I took Mazarek out because every time I played it, like I would be sacrificing like maybe 1 or 2 things a turn, but it just didn't seem that good in that deck because it didn't have a lot of creatures out.
I gotta get it into my Gitrog deck.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was back in like 2015, and now
I built my Gitrog deck a year ago, and it just occurred to me I need to add this damn card.
I just feel like in the last couple of years, like Gitrog is a great example. There are so many cards now that sacrifice things, commanders that sacrifice things, treasure tokens. Like maybe Mazarek just should be in decks more because of all of these new things.
He should be in every Golgari deck, in my opinion. Almost every Golgari deck, because there's so much recursion in it. Why wouldn't you at that point? We are going to sacrifice shit.
Yeah. Right, like even if
I honestly think that's why he's those colors. We inevitably were sacrificing shit, and God forbid there's a Rakdos player at the table.
which there probably will be.
There will always be a Rakdos player. I don't know why.
Yep.
That being said, I just built a Rakdos deck.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I can't stop building Rakdos decks. They're just fun.
Yeah. It's mono black and Golgari for me. I gotta stop. I've got like 3 Golgari and 3 mono black.
Okay, we're kind of the same then. I always like if black's not involved in the color identity, I'm just not interested. So
what up, fellow black mage?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so for this deck, what are some of this deck's like weaknesses that you have to keep an eye on when you're playing it?
It can be very slow. If I don't draw my rocks, or if I miss any land drops, really in like the first 5 turns, it might be painful for me to get going. I'll have like Gyome and a food. So I probably don't have as much ramp as I need in there when it comes to land search. So that's basically the biggest weakness. That, and it is so heavily themed that there are just simply things that other cards do way better, but they're not in the deck. Like, you can destroy a creature with 2-drop and 1-drop cards, but I've got baked into a pie.
Yep, way more fun.
It's way more fun. Yeah, it's 4 mana. It's not practical. It didn't need to be. It's silly as hell. So, stuff like that.
And I kind of love that, too, because you need to have some amount of balance there. Like instead of playing the most like optimal removal spells, you're playing bake into a pie, but it's not like that's every choice you've made in this deck, because you do have like doubling season and parallel lives, which are incredibly powerful. So I really like that balance between those two. You're like, I've got doubling season, and
like I couldn't go straight theme. I did need to put things in there to make it more powerful. Like Academy Manufacturer, what are you? Fae, like it's just, Fae offering, way more similar, way more thematic, but stuff like that.
Totally. Yeah. Which I love. I think it's cool to see theme, but also power, like some kind of balance there that is really nice.
Thank you. I've spent a lot of time tweaking this deck, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah. No, that's like what, that's why I love doing these interviews, is because people who build commander decks generally put so much time and effort into like finding the perfect balance for them. Yeah. And I just think it's really interesting to talk about.
You get to put so much of your personality into a commander deck. And I like seeing other people's commanders because I feel like I'm getting to learn something about them without needing to actually have the conversation first. And my autistic ass appreciates that.
No, it's so much fun. That's one of my favorite things about Commander. When it comes to this deck, what notable cards that we haven't already talked about do you want to shout out that kind of like add spice to the deck?
Okay, so my number 1 pet card makes people think I'm a sociopath. Shieldred Whispering one is in every single deck I have with black. I have never not seen it help. It has always been powerful and useful. And part of the reason I put it in almost all of my commander decks is the speed in which my decks roll sometimes need that speed bump to help slow it down. And I don't necessarily run as much removal in my heavily themed decks as my I want to win decks. So having her in everything is really just, for me, a solid, reasonable, and logical decision. And so she is like, Maldhound is a TikTok creator, and he makes fun of me all the time for how often I use Shieldred. She adds a lot of spice to the deck.
I support this 100%. I've always thought that Shieldred is like the perfect black card. Yeah. Just because, and it's like, it's so nice because for me, there's so many cards lately that you'll play this giant scary creature and it has like 6 enters the battlefield effects that all do a bunch of stuff. Yeah. But Shieldred's like, it comes down and it's scary, but you have a whole rest of your turn before it does anything.
And I like that she has Swamp Walk, but she's not unblockable. She's expensive, but not unreasonable. I do think she's a powerful, scary card, but I also think she is legitimately balanced.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say is it doesn't feel like you're taking over the game with this creature. It's like,
Yeah.
it's definitely going to get a ton of value over time, but it's not like your opponents are going to just blow it up immediately. Yeah. And it's just satisfying. It does everything you want. You get creatures back from the graveyard. You make your opponents lose creatures. I don't know. I find it very satisfying.
Yeah, same. And everything I play essentially in Golgari Black has some facet of recursion with very few exceptions. So yeah, always going in. I think the only deck she's not in is my Lieza Orzhov deck. And that is because I actually purposely made it to be what my nightmare as a recursion player would be.
Oh yeah.
So I have Rest in Peace in there. And pretty much everything that exiles as much as possible from everybody's graveyard. I just pulled the Stone of the Who's It What's It from the Lord of the Rings set.
Oh, perfect.
Stone of Etch,
nice.
of each, whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, that thing. That just went in there. So yeah.
That's perfect. You made like an anti-yourself deck.
Yes. Well, part of it was I'm like, I need to know how this plays, so I can learn how to beat it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you gotta get in your enemy's mind so you can build your decks around it.
Yeah, apparently I'm training. For what? I don't know.
Just to be a more experienced commander player, I guess.
Yeah, and I build all these decks, and then I sit down, immediately zone out, and I come back, and my entire board's been hull breakered away, and I'm like, what just happened?
That's me too. I'm always like, I'm gonna play so well this game, and then 2 turns later, I like forgot to draw my card at the start of the turn. Like, I don't know.
I have never once had a plan when I've tutored.
You're like, I'll see what I find.
Like, Vampiric Tutor, the fuck am I getting? And then it's usually Sheoldred.
I mean, can't go wrong.
Right?
I love it. So when it comes to the like game plan of this deck, what card would you say is like the MVP that just helps with your game plan along?
Trying to think. What do I have in there that I'm obsessed with? Honestly, Dockside Chef.
Okay, yeah.
He's not that expensive. You don't tap him, and you have the option of sacking artifacts and creatures. So if I have a bajillion token creatures on the board, sacking. If I have all of the damn tokens on Earth, I'm sacking everything. Everything. And I will have usually enough that I can gain mana while doing that. So it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's just so good. Like, drawing cards, it's like 2 mana to draw a card is totally worth it. And then you have other stuff in here that, like, gets benefits off of sacrificing things.
Yep.
It's just, I love it. It's
and
like
he's so perfectly thematic. It was like it was made for the deck. Like, I can't tell you how happy I was when I pulled that in Kamigawa. I was like, oh, so I know where you're going.
It's just like, I love it. This is what Commander is all about. Just this random uncommon.
Yeah.
Suddenly is like the MVP of your deck.
Yep. That's why I'm saying food chain is never the problem. Don't insta blow it up. You're going to regret it.
Yeah.
Any other of my decks, if I have food chain in there, blow it up. I'm up to some fuckery. But
yep.
But not in my food deck. It's basically harmless.
It's just there because it's called food chain. Yep.
Yeah, it occasionally works. I rarely use it. I think I've used it 5 times, and I've played the game over 100. The deck over 100 times at this point.
That's incredible. Yeah, you're like, truly, I'm just using it for mana, honestly.
I'm like, this literally shouldn't be in here.
I'm also, while I'm looking at the enchantment section, I love that the Meat Hook Massacre is in here, which is like totally different vibes, but still kind of fits the theme in a way.
Yeah, like absolutely. Because to me, it's a meat hook, which means it's in a meat plant, not food.
Yeah, exactly.
The insects or the food code violations, The Mirkwood bats, they're pollinators, so they help us get food.
Sometimes you stretch the flavor a little bit, but it works. Yeah. I mean, the Meat Hook Massacre, I feel like it's vaguely themed off of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they sit down for a lot of meals in that movie.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Oh.
There you go.
I mean, I didn't say who was eating in Hell's Kitchen.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone's welcome. So, okay. So you threw out a couple pet cards earlier. Do you have any other pet cards in this deck you want to talk about? You just can't resist. It's kind of like a whole pet deck too, so.
Yeah, honestly, I use Tireless Provisioner a lot. A lot. It's partly because every time I play green, I know I'm doing some landfall nonsense somehow because it's just useful in that color. Like, there's always going to be a Lotus Cobra. There's always going to be a Dryad kind of thing. Not with this one because it wasn't themed, but Tireless Provisioner has become a pet card for me, and so actually has Reassembling Skeleton.
So is that just to be able to like sacrifice a creature over and over again?
Yep.
I like it.
Yep. Like, I have a lot of fun with that card. I call him Bone Broth for this deck.
Oh, that's so good.
Somebody made me an altar of the gelatinous cube, not an altar, a proxy, and it is a Jello mold.
Oh, that's
so
beautiful.
Good. It's so good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love gelatinous cube. I have a whole oozes deck that
I'm working on one.
Really?
Yes, it's one of my favorite creature types is ooze, and I have no idea why.
Same. Yeah, there aren't very many of us, but I've been playing an ooze deck for many
oh my
years
God.
now.
Ooze stands, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very rare that you get like a commander playable ooze creature. So yeah. Gelatinous cube, I'm like, get in this deck. You are incredible.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
So good. Okay, here's a question I'm excited for. Do you have a favorite like in-game moment that you've had while playing this deck that just kind of like sticks out in your mind as being awesome?
Yes, actually. So the first time I played this on a stream, it was one of my very first streams I hosted at EDH streams that I had on my channel. I was playing with people, like one of the guys is a CEDH content creator, and the other people are just like way more experienced with EDH and streaming EDH than I was. So I was super nervous, and I decided to play my silly little food deck. And it was much slower then, but it started rolling. It started absolutely snowballing. And Ken Bauman is the person. He was a CEDH content creator, and he just goes, whoa now. Big plays, and I just started laughing so hard. And the whole table just started laughing because it went from like 2 creatures on the board to absolute mayhem within like 3 turns. That was the moment that I was like, I need to keep playing this deck. This is what I need to keep working on. This is the reaction I want when I'm playing a game.
I feel like this happens a lot when people are playing like CEDH or just very high powered commander, and somebody rolls up with just like some silly deck that plays a lot of creatures, and that's just like enough to do it. Like CEDH decks can't really handle just a bunch of tokens and creatures sometimes, and I just think that's beautiful.
It's just silly and fun, and I love it.
And you never know, like that's the thing about Commander is it's so high variance, and anything could happen that even the silliest of decks can pull through and just be so scary.
Yeah, and like this is not a deck that wins a lot because the point of the game is to win, but at the same time, I'm there for the gathering part of Magic the Gathering, if that makes sense. And this is the meal I'm preparing for everybody.
Yeah, it's friendly. Everyone's gathered around the table. Like, here's the food.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So if you were like excited to share this deck and you wanted to give someone advice who also wants to build a Gyome deck like this one, what advice would you give them?
I think what I would say is first, whatever style of this deck you want to make, whatever the focus of your win is, go hard. Go hard. Lean into what you want to build and how you want to build it. It doesn't have to be the highest power thing, but however it is you want to win, make that the focus and the goal, and make sure your choices and what you put in the deck support that focus and your goal. The other piece of advice I would say is absolutely abuse Gyome's ability to tap everybody's creatures but yours. Abuse it.
That's the thing about this deck. I think that's great advice because at first glance, you're like, oh, it's just, it makes food tokens. It's a food deck.
Like,
But-
okay, whatever.
Right. Yeah. But once you get into it, like, there are so many directions you could go. You can go the full, like, Mazarek sacrificing permanence route.
Yep.
You can play into the having a ton of artifacts.
Yeah.
There's, sacrificing artifacts versus sacrificing permanence. Like, there's so many directions you could take it.
Yeah.
And it's all very Golgari themed. Like, it's lots of, death and rebirth.
A lot of people play it all life gain.
Oh, yes. We didn't even really talk about that. But, like,
Because food gives you life. And I don't even use that ability unless I'm running low on it. Like,
totally.
there are one of the great things about this commander in particular that I feel like because he is so chill, the amount of directions you can go in with him is wonderful. It gives you the freedom to play any style that fits you. And I love that about him.
Yeah, me too. That makes it really cool. And yeah, we hadn't touched too much on just like capitalizing on the life gain, but you could really lean into that with like Exquisite Blood and cards that work with that.
It's part of the reason it's my backup win con in there. So, worst case scenario, my favorite way to do it is by sacking a food to get the Cauldron Familiar on the board and and triggering it that way, because it's just like Dinah's cat showed up and now everybody's dead.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially recently, I think like Strixhaven kind of had a life gain theme in Black and Green, which is really cool. Yeah, lots of things you can do there.
Loved it. That's actually how I fell in love with Golgari, was Strixhaven, because I only started playing with Zendikar, the most recent Zendikar.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so whatever was in standard then, like there was a bunch of food and it was only in Golgari. So I leaned into that. But then, it's Snowball.
Yep. Yeah, I really appreciated, especially Strixhaven for that. I think up until then, Golgari was basically just sacrifice creatures, get them back from the graveyard.
Yeah.
And it's kind of all it did, which was fun. Yeah. But I really like the addition of food tokens and like, using life gain as kind of a thing to add into that. Yeah, really, really cool.
Plus I make clues too, so now I have endless card draw.
Oh, yeah, and just this happens a lot lately, but it's just like
endless treasure.
Yeah, another deck that Academy Manufacturer just slaps in, which I think
when I first built this deck, Academy Manufacturer was $3. It's a $10 card right now.
And it probably will go higher, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
the second Lord of the Rings came out, I'm like, that's gonna double. The week Lord of the Rings came out, it doubled.
Yeah, it's one of those cards. It's just with every set has clues, foods, or treasures to some degree.
Yeah,
and just always make this card better. So we need more Academy Manufacturer reprints for sure.
Yes, otherwise it's going to become a stupid expensive thing, because I feel like they're leaning into tokens more and more.
Totally, yeah.
Not that it's a bad thing. I'm enjoying it. I love token decks. I think they're hysterical.
Same.
Like, I'm going to come at you with 312 Adeline human tokens, and then when I attack, I'm going to make 312 more. Like, that's funny as hell.
So funny. Yeah, that makes me think of, I have an Eloise deck, which makes a ton of clue tokens. And the whole goal of that deck is to turn all of these clue tokens into creatures and then just attack with them.
Oh, lordy.
And it's so much fun and very silly. But that Academy Manufacturer literally like increases the number of tokens to turn into creatures. Like it triples it.
It's insane.
So good. So good.
He does work.
Exactly. Yeah. And that deck actually is like kind of similar to this one in how it operates, with like you're trying to sacrifice a bunch of stuff to get kind of payoffs from that, and then there are some little infinite combo things you can do. Yeah, right up my alley. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, same.
Nice. Okay, well, it's gone by so fast, but we made it through all of the questions that I had for you. Did you have any kind of like closing thoughts or anything about this deck that you want to share before we kind of wrap things up?
Falling in love with this deck was so easy to do that I honestly strive to have that feeling with every deck that I build, be it on paper or on Arena. And part of that is I've fallen so deeply in love with this game, but being able to fall in love with these niche little mechanics that reflect who you are, your style, and just things about you in general, I feel like it's a beautiful way to learn about one another. So with that, all I have to say is, for the buffet!
That's perfect. That's exactly the vibes that I love from Commander. So yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Brujaja, for coming on and talking to me about one of your Commander decks. I really appreciated it. I had a ton of fun.
Thank you so much for having me. On my very first podcast interview ever. My very first interview.
Yeah, I hope you had a good time on your first interview.
I did. This was fun. This was fun.
Agreed. For anyone out there who wants to go check out your streams and your other content, where is it that they can find you?
I'm Brujaja Gaming on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok. Those are really the main things I run around on. You can also find me at Brujaja Gaming on YouTube. I don't have a lot of videos up yet, but I would appreciate the support in building it. And then there's all my links /Brujaja Gaming, and you can see all of the platforms I'm on, Patreon, all of my sponsorships, etc.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll have a link to all of those down in the episode description. So y'all can definitely just go check it out. Before we kind of wrap things up, one last shout out to every patron I have at the All That Glitters level, which is just one right now. And that's Jeff. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being a patron. I really appreciate it. And yeah, check out Brujaja's content and links down below. Yeah, and if you want to find any of my other stuff, that'll be down below as well. All the Faerie Conclave links are down there. And thank you out there, everyone, so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I'll catch you next time.